So, you'll be watching our very own Wrld. So let's go with the flow. Yeah, I was gonna watch this one, final 27 hours of it. Right, but before that, let me just get this here, cause I'm pretty sure no one is watching it anyway. Okay. Fix. Investigation task force, can we get an ambulance inside the Atlantic? Seizure. He did die of OD, that's right, overdose. Yeah, that's what I heard too. That is kinda scary, but then, you know, I don't really wanna think he's a liar, cause, yeah, man, they did shine, and pretty, I am not biggest fan, I guess, but I'm a pretty big fan, and I don't really think I should, we should, like, suspect him this death. I mean, that's the death, even if, you know, I'd rather not have, I'd rather not think that I don't know how to say it, but then, I'd rather not think that they're not dead and then find out that they're dead than think that they are dead and find out that they are not dead. You know what I mean? That's the problem that every freaking rapper's got now, addiction and stuff. Then they're just living their life. I'm not. Who am I to judge? Right? I'm not the greatest guy out there. I'm not freaking Buddha. True. When some rap just make people want to take stuff like that, I guess. But then they are that. But then people end up judging it just based off of that and not based off every freaking thing. Like little knowledge is dangerous is what they say. And then yeah, that's true. People like, in my community, the parents are like, you don't listen to rap and stuff like that. I don't think. But then, it's like, and the people are always like teachers and stuff. They're like, don't take drugs and stuff like that. But they never tell us why we should not take drugs. I mean, just give us fucking info, then we can choose. And then everybody's like, yo, if that guy takes drugs, he's bad. But if you really think about it, it's not the drugs that make him bad. Someone who takes drugs is not always worse than someone who doesn't. I mean, yeah, it's like a stereotypical view that people who take drugs are worse than those that don't. But then that's really not the case. It's just people judging people. That's the freaking problem with it. They can't really, even if they did take drugs, and then people don't accept it. people don't accept that people who don't take drugs are not accepted. The people who take drugs are not accepted by the community. So, like, that is what's holding them from, like, even if they have a problem and they want to, like, um, get off this case, like, stop being addicted, just need some help, not taking drugs. Then, and they want to quit taking drugs, they can't open up. That's the freaking problem. This is what gives them trauma, and this is the freaking main problem. People just hate drugs, but then they're just living their life, I guess. And sometimes, we don't even know when we're gonna die. So, but then I don't really want to support taking drugs. Say no to drugs. Now I'm just being like those teachers. Why? I don't really know. That's the freaking problem. Let's search why we should not take drugs. Then this one would be an educational video too. Well, effects of drugs, right? EFFECTS of drugs. Let's search bad effects of drugs too. Then we'll search good ones too. So like choose, so that people can choose between the effect. They can choose but themselves. Everybody's like freaking mature, right? They get to choose. That's the right. They have the freaking right, and then stop judging people off. Affect not just your physical but your whole life. Just one people kill. Okay, drugs don't affect your physical. They can affect mental health, your finances, your life. So what type of drug is drug causes other effects? I guess they do cause drugs and sport. Because drugs can change your behavior, they can affect your relationship with family and friends. There's an increased. I don't really know how. Just tell us how it is bad. The effects of your experience are coming down. Depending on drugs or taken. That's what they commonly include depression, insomnia, sleepiness, extreme tiredness. Okay, you may also experience headaches, nausea, and loss of appetite, which is bad, right? Tests tend to see if there are drugs in your body, maybe them to detect illegal drug use. This one is like, drugs while taking, driving, drugs in workplace, and sports might not really be that way. Because it's like, yeah, they are freaking, irrational and stuff. They are not in the right sense of mind, but then if they're taking drugs and staying at home kind of thing, just doing their own thing, I personally don't have a problem with that. But then, yeah, I don't really want to support it in this video, because people who watch this video might be pretty young too, and there might be kids in here too. So yeah, I'm not really influencing you, man. I'm just telling you that you should make your own freaking choice, and that the problem. It's not the problem about drugs. The people judging drugs is the problem with people judging people, man. Just based off something, man. Just based off something good or something bad, man. They did something good. He's always gonna do something. No, you don't even know that guy, can they? This is the positive and negative effects. Good effects. My English is really bad. The acute disease, pain bearable. True, that could help. They create research and job. Possible escape reality. Yeah, that is true. I guess that can be. One can argue. But then escaping from reality might not always be the best choice. Sometimes you just gotta accept it and then go over everything. Now this is not even a freaking useful final 27 hours. It's just me talking about drugs. Let's just go back to that. Underage people should not take drugs. They are not freaking, fully mature, and they might make the wrong case, and then there's freaking pressure. They just, someone tells them take drugs, then they are gonna take drugs, they don't. So I'm saying, but then I'm not talking about every 15-year. I'm just talking about, sometimes it's better if you just wait, I guess, and then make your own decision when you're an adult, and then you have your own freaking life. Then you make your own freaking choice. But me personally, I don't think you should take drugs. And escaping from reality, no, might be a good thing, but then it could affect you. I personally like basketball and stuff, so if you, it's gonna affect your health, and then you're not gonna be able to play real nice and stuff like that. It decreases your stamina, and might not be good for sports people. That's why they don't take it. But sometimes, if it wasn't for the Spurs, I wouldn't be affected. What I'm really trying to say is not that you should take drugs or that you should not take drugs. It's just that the community should change. But then, yeah, I can't really do nothing about it. Don't freaking judge people based off just whether they're taking drugs or not. Someone who takes drugs might have faced a whole lot of challenges, and if you had lived their life, you might be the one taking drugs, and they might be, if they lived your life, they might be the one in your place, and then he might be a really kind soul and would have been like, help you instead of just judging you, man. That's what I'm saying. That's a lot, I think. Everything has a limit. Just don't cross that. Don't ever cross that, bro. That's some. True. You should not really blame the pilot, I guess. Yeah, that shit is true. Don't blame him, man. Even if it did snitch, then he did do the right thing, I guess, depending on uh, how he's living, you know, how his lifestyle is and livelihood is. So. I wonder if anyone knows why he had 70 pounds of weed on a private jet. I've seen some say that he was bringing it back to Chicago to celebrate with his friends and other people, but I have also seen some say he was trafficking the drugs for the gang NLMB. Does anyone have any idea? Just 999 for real. I don't think they would have sold it. Man, I think that is a pretty huge amount, but then he's pretty rich, right? He doesn't really need to sell things. I mean, if think about it, if me or you is a rapper like usual, who's as popular as usual and as rich as usual, would you do that for a couple, who to do, sell drugs and like risk your whole freaking career that you built. I mean, he probably could buy anything he wanted and stuff like that. Oh, would he need to sell drugs, right? The way he, says bah, it's kind of funny though. So that document was fake. So what? She never got caught for selling drugs. I thought she did. What's happening in chat? We'll fake this wheelchair. Watch that. That's just what. So I guess that was a pretty good idea. I mean, just the idea. I'm not really talking about stealing. I'm not really thinking about the good and the bad and stuff like that. I'm just thinking about the idea, man. Oh, I'm a fake wheelchair, man. I'm fake being a wheelchair. If he had got away with that, man, a hell out of substitute. Man, I'ma break my legs for that shit, man. I ain't gonna fake, so I would rather just break my fucking legs. I'm just playing with time to do that. I'm gonna do that, man. People who harm themselves are the people that suicide, and suicide is pretty scary, man. You need some serious outfits if you're gonna plan. If you're planning on suicide, just ask some freaking advice. Just ask someone who freaking loves you, man. There are people who love you, man. Think about them. Now I got suicide from someone who, from a streamer, from watching a Twitch streamer who faked suicide. What? Suicide. And then from youthful time to freaking drugs. People who take drugs, man. I'm freaking going off top. Now, why am I talking about that? Let's just get on with the video. Man, the freaking work that this guy does, serious as work. There's that one guy who's managing this YouTube channel. Cause if it is, hats off, bro. Wait, where's the freaking reflection in that? I don't get it. Let me. But then that. Even though I did say it's a good fucking idea, man, we shouldn't be doing that, man. That's ethically wrong, man. It's just, taking advantage, Think about all the people that are really in wheelchairs, man. You should all fake your views are fucking gods, man. Now I'm just, simping on views, if I show you that, you're just gonna, you hack it, I don't really know. If you can, just don't mess with my stuff, man. Just don't close it down. My ears freaking out from the headphone.
Moving forward, we'll be offering refunds to those who subscribe to this channel through Twitch. We have zero tolerance for this type of behaviour, and the character demonstrated in this situation is truly reprehensible. His actions are a huge slap in the face to Twitch community members with real disabilities such as Aaron, and groups such as Able Gamers, who have helped spread a message of inclusiveness and positivity to not only the Twitch community, but gaming as a whole. However, this was still...
That's all I said, man. It's like an insult to them people who are really disabled.
Only the surface of what would become the Zillion OP disability rabbit hole. In July 2013, just 3 months after his massive expose, a user by the name of Inigo Montoya TV would upload a video titled Zillion and Pantholia Meet OMFG, in which Zillion can be seen standing up straight with seemingly no need for any wheelchair assistance.
There's Zillion. He has legs. We got Zillion. It should be. It's live. They're gonna go nuts. They're gonna be like, what? Zillion? Because no one's seen you since it went. And he has no beard. Look at this. No beard. Look at how much he lifts.
Interestingly, Zillion had also shaved his beard, making him almost unrecognizable, which might have...
So...
months after his massive expose, a user by the rabbit hole. In July 2013, just 3 months after his...
3 months after.
And he has no beard. Look at this. No beard. Look at how much he lifts.
Interestingly, Zillion had also shaved his beard, making him almost unrecognizable, which might have been a deliberate move to avoid further public humiliation. The beard would make a comeback when Zillion started streaming on Hitbox TV in 2015. However, he'd find little success given his obliterated reputation, so there was really no discussion about the streamer for 7 whole years between 2013 and 2020. However, this would change once again when the internet would discover a channel that looked suspiciously familiar, going by the name of It's Bluish. The streamer running this suspicious page was clearly Zillion, and it would hilariously be the person who originally hacked his Facebook page in 2013.
Oh my god, this Hypno's got him, and Hypno's freaking got something against him, man.
Streamer Zillion OP, banned for faking a disability, has returned under a new alias and just got partnered. However, this is where the story takes a bit of an interesting turn. With Zillion having somewhat of an audience once again, he'd begin to put forward numerous pieces of evidence showing that he had actually been in a wheelchair during the early days of his streaming career. In one notable moment, he'd pull up his Facebook before showing numerous wheelchair photos whilst out in public just prior to beginning his streaming journey.
My beard was shorter there. I was in the wheelchair beforehand. Me at concerts, me out traveling, me out doing everything. This was just like I was in a wheelchair. I did get better, and I am obviously no longer in a wheelchair.
Unless for some reason Zillion had lived a year of his life in a wheelchair for the sole purpose of looking disabled prior to beginning his streaming journey, it was basically confirmed that Zillion was most certainly disabled, or at least had been temporarily. This is where
So, I guess so, man. But then, yeah. Now I'm freaking confused.
Another YouTuber here on the platform. Many of you will already know exactly who he is, but we'll still leave a link to his channel in the description below. After Wavy Web Surf would learn that Zillion was returning in June 2020, in conjunction with the newly found evidence that Zillion was disabled at least to some degree, Wavy Web Surf will conduct an hour-long interview with Zillion to get the full story from his perspective. Throughout the interview, it feels as though Zillion is speaking in a way that's truthful. It doesn't feel like he's trying to hide anything. So under the assumption that this whole discussion wasn't yet another lie, here's what they discovered. Firstly, Zillion wasn't lying about either the car accident or needing to be in a wheelchair.
I was in a wheelchair for 2 years. I was in a car accident, which put me in a wheelchair for more than a year prior to streaming.
And therefore, the disability was never...
Is anyone really watching this stream? And if you're, just type something, I guess. I don't really know.
That just by you showing those photos that you created a fake, disabled personality, that's completely not true.
The problem was that at some point in the journey, there was clearly a shift from not being able to walk to being able to walk.
When I started streaming, I needed it.
So he liked his life and he was able to walk, I guess. At least the streaming career, because it just went boom, 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 bro. Like, it's about being unique when you're streaming, right, man? Because, yeah, man, I'm just a normal guy who's streaming, and then I'm not gonna talk about my viewers. That's just gonna make me look pathetic. So, let me just talk about, everyone else who's popular, that's gonna hype everybody up. Excuse, he's loud. Most critical, he says some fucking dirty jokes, and he never stops speaking, even though he has that lazy kind of vibe. But then he never does stop speaking. That's the great thing about it. Pokemon did say that she got popular because she was a woman. Now, not saying that it's easier for a woman to get it, but then it's just that a woman gaming at her, though at the time that she started was like really rare, so that itself became unique personality kind of thing. Unique something, not a personality, but character kind of thing.
100% go-to if I needed to go to the bathroom. I was getting out of my bed, pushing myself in a chair and going to the bathroom.
However, none of this was disclosed by Zillion at any time. Therefore, he'd conclude that his lack of explanation about where he was at in his journey was one of his biggest shortcomings.
Do you feel like you screwed up in the sense that, like, when you are integrating your disability so much in stream that it may have put off a certain...
I'm really sleepy. I got classes at 9, I think, and
that you were wheelchair bound.
It's 2:30.
Are you willing to admit that perhaps not updating people was a mistake there?
It was my biggest mistake, not updating people.
True.
I should have opened about the recovery from day.
He probably regrets that, man. Because if you think about it, if people really like your streaming, and then for how you stream it, at least for your character and your personality. If people watch it for your personality, they're still gonna stay, even if they don't know about you. Even if you are not disabled, man, that wheelchair thing gave you kind of a unique personality, which gives you exposure. And if you had just told him that you're fine now, then a lot of subs would have been there. And then even if it did decrease, at least a little bit would be left, and you could still make it up from there. I guess that was a big ass mistake for you, man. He planned it all wrong, man.
My wheelchair is part of my stream, and it's something where people see me do wheelies and something people
So if I was him, I would be like, I guess that wheelchair is a part of his dream, because that is his unique personality. I would have still been on a wheelchair. Not gonna. I would have told people, in the stream interviews that I'm fine now. So thank you for supporting me and stuff like that. But then I'm still gonna be using this wheelchair. Why? Because this is a part of stream. So I'm gonna be using this chair instead of a gaming chair. Boom.
I should 100% have been like, hey guys, today at physical therapy, I walked 2 steps.
Yeah, that would have helped.
What an exciting day for me, and I didn't say a damn thing.
The way that Zillion talks about his past mistakes
That
really shows
character change would have been something great too, man. Maybe that could have got him more views, maybe not. Probably not, but then at least we like character development. Everybody likes character development in a manga or a video or a movie or something like that. So your whole stream could be like an anime, like a series where there's a fucking character development. Someone not really saying that people in wheelchair are bad or something like that. I'm just saying, something's changing. People like a little change.
He knows that he approached it terribly. Yet, despite his clear remorse for what you might call the mismanagement of the situation, Twitch would still remove his Millions Foolish account for ban evasion. It seems a little unfair given his clear display of remorse, as well as the fact that it happened over 9 years ago now. However, it did seem like Twitch was in the process of unbanning his OG Zillion account, so perhaps he'll have another opportunity to do his stream the right way in the future.
I don't like him doing that, but I don't really hate it too. What Mr. Page rather than I make it, I did watch that. I don't really want to watch it, because I'm just gonna stream whatever I want. I told myself that I'm gonna enjoy my streaming, but I'm really sleepy right now, so I might have to quit it. But then one freaking video is not gonna kill me, so let's go. That's fake towards. I don't even know what towards are. So it's about rap, Juice WRLD, right? So something related to him will be XXX Tentacion's 10.5 hours.
XXX Tentacion was shot and killed by
Tentacion.
very same motorcycle store.
I guess I pronounced it wrong, but I really like his songs. I'm not saying I'm a big fan. I don't really care much about artists and stuff, you know. When I listen to a song, I just listen to it. I like the song, I like it. I ain't gonna be like, I like that song. No, I freaking love the artist too. No, I don't really care about artists kind of guy. That's the kind of guy. I'm not really saying I don't really care about artists. I do care, but then not as much as some people, you know. Some people be like, someone like, let's say, K-pop stands. No, I'm just hating on them K-pop stands. It's just seem like I like listening to K-pop too. So K-pop stands, I'm not really saying. But then let's talk about the BTS army. Someone says something bad, you know. You like the song, I get it. Okay, they got a freaking chilly vibe, and then they're hella popular, and then people who are hella popular for a freaking reason. It's probably because everybody likes the video, which basically is better than a critic, an expert judging it. Because if you really think about it, I did learn that somewhere, that audience, you know, and how to be who wants to be a millionaire or something like that. They do have this, audience thing, and then that audience voting thing, and then there's the call an expert. But then by data, it says that audience are, that audience thing gives us more accurate answers. So, man, there was this guy, I even saw this guy who had like 6 lottery wins in a row or something like that, and then his idea was just basically to ask people, and then he would just create the freaking average and do some freaking maths, and then boom, man, he got the freaking lottery answers, man. He got the freaking lottery numbers. How could an expert get that, man? So that's what I'm saying, man. Now, what was I really talking about? I don't really know, man. Yeah, I was talking about why I couldn't pronounce it. Man, my excuses are getting hella wild right now.
The Black Dodge Journey, shot somebody in a black BMW.
Located within this mentioned Black Dodge Journey were 4 individuals: Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, Robert Allen, and Dedrick Williams. The last 2 having been seen on the surveillance footage next to XXX Tentacion just moments before the tragedy. Why were these 2 shady-looking guys snooping around the motorcycle store in the minutes before his death? What was the motive behind the killing? Did the perpetrators know XXX Tentacion personally? After being pronounced dead at 4:51 p.m. that very same afternoon, investigators would look over the prior 10.5 hours of Jazi on life back to 6 a.m. that morning, at which point they discovered that his days and that nothing was out of the ordinary. At 6:05 a.m. League of Legends, before logging off 22 minutes later at 6:27 a.m. Now, it's impossible to tell if he'd been playing the game all night, or if he'd simply gotten up early to have a quick match before getting the day started, but either way, beginning his final day with video games didn't exactly seem unusual or indicate any awareness about the fate that was waiting for him that afternoon. However, X did seem to have a sneaky suspicion that he would eventually suffer a premature death. In an Instagram livestream from December 2017, 6 months prior, XXX Tentacion discussed both the possibility of death, whilst outlining what he hoped his legacy might become when he did eventually die.
If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life.
In the weeks and months before
I don't really get an answer from his freaking songs, no disrespect, but then I really like his songs, so it did make me happy. I like the freaking vibe, man.
live stream, X had both increased his security and vowed to never leave.
It gets me hyped up. Some songs make us hyped up. Some songs we feel it. Me, I'm probably an evil maniac. I don't really know, but then I don't really love people. I've never really fallen in love. So when you listen to them songs, XXX, Juice WRLD, you get how it feels to be in love, kind of thing. Maybe not. Maybe that's not the best answer to it. Maybe I should just read a book. But then I like the freaking vibe and the flow and the chorus and the lyrics and the whole freaking song. Everything there is to a song, man.
Not travel alone. He never traveled alone. He knew that he has enemies, obviously. He would not go places alone. I know there were people who were very jealous and envious of him. He came from an area where not a lot of people make it out. XXX Tentacion had grown up in Lauderhill, Florida, a suburban area which in 2014 was ranked as the 8th most dangerous small city in America. And if we examine X's upbringing in the area, up in the hood. Wait, you're a fighter? You fights?
Bro, I've been fighting since I was a kid.
What, you always been throwing the hands or what?
I mean, I've been there plenty of situations like
After growing up in somewhat of a rough environment, with his mother being a stripper and his father partly a drug dealer, fighting people became a regular part of XXX Tentacion's life, almost like a hobby. He'd be enrolled in the school choir during elementary school, where he began to develop his love of music. He would be kicked out after punching another band member in the middle of a public performance.
I was in choir, ended up getting kicked out while we was literally doing a performance because he kept touching me when we were singing.
Being kicked out of educational institutions for fighting became somewhat of a trend in X's life. After the school choir event, he'd then be expelled from Margate Middle School after kicking another kid in the mouth, whilst also getting into a fight with a random person who provoked him on the bus ride home. As a result of X's short fuse in the 8th grade, his mother would take him out of home, at which point he'd go and live with his grandmother, who lived in a gated community reputable for drug dealing and gang violence, a place where XXX Tentacion would come from.
Those freaking slums in US are freaking dangerous. Everybody's freaking showing up with guns. At least that's what I think. I've never been there, so I don't really know. I should not be judging. I just said it in the beginning of the video, and now I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. So shut the fuck up. Now I'm self-harming myself, which is probably the same as that suicide thing that I said about myself. Now I'm contradicting everything I said.
X came into the possession of a firearm and began to take part in armed robberies, ultimately resulting in his first 9-month stint in a Florida juvenile detention center. While locked up, X would meet another individual by the name of Stokely Cleveland Goldborn, who would later come to be known as Ski Mask the Slump God.
It was hard, we had to make it on our own to kick this out. Let him jail.
Having come from the same county, X and Ski Mask decided that after leaving prison, they'd meet up to continue their life of crime together. However, after noticing that they both had a mutual interest in freestyle rapping, they would instead leave prison, purchase a blue snowball microphone, and enter a substantially safer business, music.
That's nice.
The outlet to just stop getting in trouble. Stuff off of eBay. It was like a snowball mic, Audacity, and like a laptop.
XXX Tentacion would create his first ever song alongside Ski Mask titled U/Flock, then posted to SoundCloud after his release from prison, with his second song of Vice City, discussing his desire to leave his life of crime in the past. From this point onwards, X would become so serious about his music career that over 4 years later, on the final day of his life, creating music was still very much a daily habit. Because at around 8 AM, approximately an hour and a half after logging off League of Legends at 6:27 AM, X would work on waiting for a new song recorded 2 days prior titled Chase Glass Shards, which would, unbeknownst to him at the time, be the last piece of music he worked on. This would continue over the next 6 hours between 1 AM and 2 PM, in the process interacting with his girlfriend Genesis, who became sick and was considering seeing a doctor. Without the knowledge that after that afternoon, he'd never see Genesis ever again, X had something else on his mind, buying a new motorbike. At 3:11 PM, X would FaceTime his mother for 2 minutes, asking if she'd accompany him to a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach, to which she would say no, sparking an argument, resulting in her agreeing to instead go to the doctor with Genesis. Vowing to never leave the house alone, XXX Tentacion would instead head to the dealership with his step-uncle, stopping by the Bank of America on the way over. X pulled up to the bank driving his $150,000 BMW IA, whilst wearing a gold chain and a $2,000 Louis Vuitton bag. He walked in calmly and withdrew $50,000 in cash, placing each and every $100 bill neatly into his Louis Vuitton bag, at which point he'd be noticed by the 4 previously mentioned suspects, like Boatwright, Trayvon.
Man, people killing people just for books is fucking wrong, man. I mean, stealing is wrong too, man. But then taking a life, that's too much just to steal, man.
Robert Allen and Dedrick Williams.
I've never been, I don't even know their backstory, so maybe they had some reasons, but then killing is just too much, man. I told you about a limit, right, man? That's the freaking limit. You gotta do something, you know. Maybe you're so much in debt you would lost your freaking child or something like that if you didn't get the books. I get the fact that you stole, but then killing someone just to see. Come on, man.
Potential motive for the killing, financial gain.
No.
Just weeks prior to this $50,000 cash withdrawal, XXX Tentacion had signed a deal for his 3rd studio album worth a reported $10 million. However, landing such a lucrative deal was no walk in the park. Continuing on from where we left off earlier, after releasing Vice City in 2014, rapping about his desire to leave his life of crime in the past, X continued to release music, yet failed to achieve any success in the beginning. Having no following whilst being fresh out of prison led X to take on a 9-to-5 day job, working as an over-the-phone electricity salesman.
I only done one job, and I was a sales because I knew how to run my mouth. Electricity Hello, my name is Jose Onfoy from Energy Solutions. How are you doing today?
Around a year and a half later, on the 30th of December 2015,
That voice is hella nice, man.
XXX
Him talk.
Solutions, how are you doing today?
Around a year and a half.
I really like his
I
voice
only done
though.
one job and I was a sales bro because I knew how to run my mouth. Electricity sales. Hello, my name is Jose Onfoy from Energy Solutions. How are you doing today?
Around a year and a half later, on the 30th of December 2015, XXX Tentacion will drop one of his now most infamous songs titled Look at Me. The track will come to be known as a sleeper hit, laying dormant for over a year before exploding in early 2017. However, in the process, X began to build a cult following of incredibly loyal supporters for his unique sound and style.
XXX Tentacion. I wanted to ask you. Now he's still growing, and he's very young, and as every artist, is growing. When he speaks, you can tell he's actually an intelligent individual. He's not a dumbass dude, and I think he actually has a message. So
by early 2016, around 2 years after beginning his music career, he had achieved 18,500 followers on SoundCloud.
Bad
and
vibes
one of the most
forever.
highly requested rappers to be interviewed on Adam 22's No Jumper podcast.
Like, I have a cult fan base. I don't have like a weak ass fan base. Like,
You have a crazy ass following on social media and stuff, and like it's not like necessarily the craziest like numbers, like 10,000 or whatever. Or how many you have on SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, I'm at 18.5.
Just the number of people who have asked me to interview you is insane. Like considering that you're like an underground artist, like the number of tweets I had to read about you, man.
However, XXX Tentacion was able to stay out of trouble with the law, and only 3 months after the previously shown interview, would be jailed once again for robbery and assault with a deadly weapon. After posting his bail set at $10,000, he'd be released. However, only 3 months after that, he'd be arrested once again.
That's the freaking wrong thing, man. I don't really want to judge people based. I don't even know what happened, but then, yeah. Violence is never the solution, I guess, but then sometimes there are freaking people that irritate you so much you want to hit them, right? Like, you gotta accept that, man. No one's that kind, man. I mean, maybe you are, but then, I don't know where I'm going with it, so I'm just gonna continue the freaking video.
The interesting thing about rappers, however, is that criminal charges and prison sentences are often glorified by their fans and seem to do wonders for keeping them relevant. This is exactly what happened to XXX Tentacion, as it would ironically be during this third stint in jail that his notoriety and music career would find its way into the mainstream.
What's with those people?
In 2017, his song Look at Me, which had been released over 12 months prior, peaked at number 34 on the US Hot 100 Billboard after X had been locked up for 2 months and was doing absolutely nothing to promote it, while many of his other songs began to trend alongside it. His newly found notoriety whilst in prison led to countless six-figure record label offers under the assumption he was going to be even bigger after being released from prison. XXX Tentacion ended up spending 6 months behind bars during his third stint and was released in April 2017 with more fame, more fans, and more enemies than ever. After receiving a deal worth an estimated $6 million for the production of his second studio album titled
I guess people, having problems just makes it kind of relatable. And then relatability is what people really want, right? Even in a song, people want to be able to relate, and if you really know about their life, and then they're like, some artist is facing problems just like a normal person, like normal me or you would be facing, then that is kind of relatable, which would probably mean people liking it, I guess. I'm just theorizing. I don't even know if there's a word like that, but I'm using it for.
X had gone from an underground artist in prison to a multi-millionaire mainstream celebrity. However, while X had certainly built the fame and fortune, perhaps he didn't have enough time to build a high level of wisdom required to manage his high status position, bringing us back to the moment that he withdrew $50,000 cash on his very
That looks like the one in Fortnite, the Pizza Hut thing.
reasoning behind why X felt the need to carry such a large amount of money in physical $100 bills is anyone's best guess. Perhaps he knew the dealership would give him a better price if he paid in physical cash, or maybe he just wanted to feel like a baller walking around with the average American salary in his backpack. However, if X never made his withdrawal, the outcome at the end of the day might have been incredibly different. Because after leaving the bank, X would be followed by the 4 previously mentioned perpetrators to Reva Motorsports, all of which arriving at 3:30 p.m. approximately 10 minutes later. 2 of the alleged perpetrators, Robert Allen and Detrick Williams, are seen walking right next to XXX Tentacion whilst he looking at bikes, with the other 2 alleged perpetrators, Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Newsom, waiting outside in a black Dodge Journey. 25 minutes later, at 3:55 p.m., XXX Tentacion would go to drive out.
I don't think they had a problem with XX. I mean, think about it. XXX Tentacion, and if he had a problem with them, he would be like, looking at him for a longer time, If he knew them, he would be looking at him for a longer time, even if he didn't know them, I guess. But then he didn't, he just like glanced at them, and then they were like, I don't even know that guy, kind of thing. At least that's what I think, so basically it's just for the money, I guess.
Dealership before the Dodge Journey would block the exit, at which point two masked men jumped out of the car and demanded X's Louis Vuitton bag and gold chain. The thieves would successfully take both of these items after a bit of a struggle. However, even though the robbery was over, when X looked at one of the men directly in the eyes, he'd take 2 steps back and do the unthinkable.
Oh my freaking god.
Cordae, this is something that has really stunned fans of XXX Tentacion, a rising
Tentacion.
star in South Florida. Fans began to gather here right after learning about the shooting that claimed his life. They just held a moment of silence, but they've been here listening to his music, praying, and lighting candles in his memory.
Disgustingly, in the hours after X's death, Jedrick Williams, one of the suspects, would record a video of himself happily dancing around with a bunch of $100 bills, also spending $800 on designer clothes at a Fort Lauderdale store the day after the killing. Similarly, police would find a $400 receipt for clothing and shoes in a garbage can at Michael Boatwright's house, purchased 13 days after X's death. However, while these complete and utter scumbags were living it up on their newly found unearned fortune, X's music career was having its own after-death explosion.
When he passed, bro, I went up 1 million followers.
General?
Anything that had to do with him went up.
I mean, yeah, it's weird to see like his Instagram followers doubled when he passed. He went from like 7 to 14. Like, it's just crazy to see how people react when somebody passes.
As mentioned in an article written by Hypebeast, sales of his first studio album set.
That's the freaking problem, people don't get it. No, but then, I guess, it's not that people just want to train Jack, sometimes people just don't know about him, and then when he ends up getting killed, after that, people learn about it, cause then that's when they get popular, I guess, cause they come up in the news and stuff, and then you're like, people do get curious, a rapper got killed, okay, let me just check it, kind of thing. And that's what I told you about, unique, right, man, getting killed is unique, I guess, but then don't kill yourself.
He jumped up 9,000%, while his sophomore question mark project released back in March saw a staggering 41,006% spike in less than 24 hours after his tragic death. Similarly, his average monthly YouTube music viewership jumped from 150 million per month to 400 million per month following his death, giving him a permanent increase in the value of his music as an offset to his passing. It was kind of like karma, a superstition that X certainly believed in.
I believe in past lives and future lives. I believe in the karma cycle. I believe until you align the karma cycle, nothing else matters.
However, by the same token, after X had been to prison twice for armed robbery himself, perhaps his own death during an armed robbery was, as he put it, the karmic cycle realigning itself. However, no matter how poor X's prior decisions might have been, they weren't nearly as stupid as those involved in the killing. With bullet casings at the scene of the crime matching guns owned by the perpetrators, and evidence as obvious as Jedrick Williams purchasing a neoprene mask from the motorcycle store just minutes prior to the robbery, each of the 4 men were arrested one by one in the 2 months that followed the tragic event. The perpetrators would have their fingerprints taken and would each face a pre-examination. However, almost 4 years later, the men are still yet to face trial and have therefore received no charges. However,
What
this hasn't
the?
stopped XXX Tentacion's father, Dwayne Onfroy, from expressing what he hopes might happen to the perpetrators. Y'all killed that young man, that father, that son, that brother, without a cause. I say this, no malice in my heart. I'm seeking life without parole for the participants in the robbery and cold-blooded murder of my son, and the man who pulled the trigger. I'm going to seek the death penalty.
True, man, it's gonna be hard for a parent, man, especially for mom and dad, man. It's gonna be pretty hard. I mean, think about how much the fans freaking mourn for that, how much friends freaking mourn for that. Parents, when they have been taken care of you for a whole freaking life, your whole freaking life, and then they sacrifice a whole lot of time for you, and then someone just kills them, and that's really hard, man. R.I.P. Juice, R.I.P. X.
It was just 3.5 Lil Xan was sitting back and bragging about owning 3 different Los Angeles apartments.
I have the same one, 10 floors up now.
Really?
Yep.
What? Don't you have another one down the street too?
And another one on the same floor.
Why do you have 3 apartments?
One for my parents, one for me and Eli, my hacker, and then one for the hose.
The hose?
Despite once being in what seemed like an unlosable situation, it was obvious that over the long run, Lil Xan's failure was not only inevitable but deserved, and it all began with what seemed to be a poor work ethic dating all the way back to high school.
So I failed every class up until I dropped out freshman year. I just could not sit down for 7 hours a day.
Now, we shouldn't make the argument that poor grades in school automatically result in a poor work ethic over the long term. There are simply too many examples of mediocre people performing terribly at school before going on to achieve greatness in a different field. However, there's a bit of a difference between finishing school with bad grades and failing every single class.
Freshman year. I just could not sit down for some reason.
Dropping out in your freshman year of high school, as was the case with Lil Xan, establishing what you might call something like a predisposed natural.
That didn't really define anything, I guess, because it's based on interest, right? If you don't like doing something, and then you're like told to do it for an hour, it feels like a whole freaking month. But if you like something and just, like sit there and think about it. If I had to listen to a freaking lecture for 7 hours, that would be like killing me. Let's just make it 1 hour. It just takes a whole lot of freaking time. It feels like a whole freaking day. But then streaming, it just goes by. It feels like minutes kind of thing. Not really streaming, just watching video. Because streaming is just a side thing, I guess. Because think about it, I don't really, I like streaming, but then, if streaming is too vague as well. I mean, man, like, think about it. Depending on what I'm streaming, I might like it, kind of thing. Right now, I'm watching a video, which is basically what I do. Even if I was not streaming, I'll probably do it, watch YouTube. So, yeah, this is interesting for me. I can do it, but then sitting down for a lecture is freaking hard. That's all I'm saying. It's based off interest, different priorities and different interests.
Lil Xan often being unable to do the work whenever it was required. We already discussed him dropping out of school in his freshman year, but it continued into the beginning of his music career when he failed to show up to countless meetings with other big rappers who had given him an opportunity. When at less than 2,000 followers, he'd be noticed by an individual named DJ Fu, who wanted to take Lil Xan to meet a potential manager by the name of Stat Quo, who was an old school sober rapper and manager who had worked with Eminem in the past.
If it wasn't for this guy, I would literally never have been discovered, never met Stat Quo. We wouldn't be doing the No Jumper Day in the Life.
However, as mentioned just prior, despite this insanely big opportunity while still at such a small follower count, Lil Xan kept missing the meetings, either as a result of being disorganized or because he thought the meetings were too good to be true.
It's LA.
You can't believe everybody.
It's LA.
It was a time when SoundCloud rappers were popping up left, right, and center to the point that it was becoming a meme. Lil Peep, Lil Skies, Lil Pump with Gucci Gang.
Is Lil Pump actually an artist? Is he a rapper that is truly worth taking seriously? The border between being a musician and being a meme.
So when a song was released to Lyrical Lemonade, titled Betrayed, sung by an artist with a name as stupid as Lil Xanax, people had to click to see if it was a meme or not.
People clicked on it because they were like, we gotta hear what a Lil Xan sounds like, you know what I mean? And then they were actually like pleasantly surprised.
The song was actually pretty decent, creating a perfect storm exploding its popularity.
I'm listening to that song, I have not listened.
The thumbnail, the title, the actual song itself.
It blows my mind, bro.
And shortly thereafter,
I'll talk about it in the next streaming with like it or not, maybe.
The most viewed video on all of Cordae.
Just remember is when this song was the most popular on Lyrical channel.
Hey, just how quickly you went from a total nobody to somebody that everybody knew.
It's crazy.
It was so shocking, even for me being like really close to it.
However, countless comments along the lines of, if he kept making music like this, it wouldn't be a joke, hint that after this project, he'll be considered as somewhat of a one-hit wonder, as 6 months later he released his long-anticipated first studio album, which would be met with many negative reviews from individuals like Anthony Fantano.
We're not even at the halfway point of the year yet, and this is one of the worst things I've heard all year.
Whilst failing to achieve a professional review higher than 2 out of 5
I'm pretty
stars,
sleepy.
5 out of 10. The The reasoning for the poor release will be discussed by Adam22 at a later date, and it was what you might call unsurprising.
Like, I don't know when Lil Xan's album came out, right? And I remember having a conversation with
I
Stat
need to
being
go
like,
fetch
"Check
some
it out,"
water too,
because
man.
it's pretty obvious
Cause
the album was bad.
you know,
And put in,
we
like,
gotta
no
drink
work
water.
for the album. And I remember having that conversation with him. And if it was up to Stat, Xan would have been sitting in the studio recording every night, and instead he was just doing drugs and having random ass girls come over every night.
The other issue might have been that after the insane success of his single Betrayed, Lil Xan might have been lured into a false sense of security about his future and talent as an artist. He might have felt as though he could now relax a little bit and take his foot off the gas, resulting in one incredible banger to lead the album, followed by 15 other mediocre songs. This is the self-described reason behind why T-Pain's rap career eventually failed, and could certainly have been the same story with Lil Xan.
Everybody's like, it's downhill from here. The analogy was, if you pedal up the hill, you can coast afterwards.
Right, okay.
You just stop working. You have to keep working. What they don't tell you is that you coast, totally fine. There's another hill. So, you gotta keep going.
From Lil Xan's perspective, he would state that the poor performance of the album wasn't his fault, or was instead the fault of his management.
I dropped like a mixtape that got way more like positive reviews than my album, and it should have been my album because my first album wasn't put together by me. It was put together by my management, and you know, I love my management, but I mean, they took my first album completely up to the point where I didn't even pick the track list or like what songs were going on. It was so rushed.
However, this just revealed another one of Lil Xan's flaws, a lack of personal responsibility. Now, we don't know whose fault it was that the first album flopped, but in reality it's usually a mix of both parties and is rarely the fault of one person or another. However, Lil Xan is the artist. If you release something publicly under your name and it sucks, you unfortunately have to own the failure. Plus, most of the time, even if it wasn't your fault, people like you way more when you just say, yeah, it was my fault, because it displays humility and the desire to improve. Anyway, despite his first album being
That's
a flop,
rest of first. Nah, I don't even know who that guy is, but then calls Lil Xan, you know. First hip hop
Lil Xan was
made
still able to maintain his popularity
Karen.
because
That's
when you look past the dopey personality,
a freaking this right there.
and actually watch him on one of these podcasts, he's a surprisingly likable dude. He's not an arrogant douchebag like, for example, Lil Pump, and generally speaking, he's honest and transparent about the good and bad in his life.
We talk about everything, like if you ask me anything, I'll be like yeah. Like,
his stupid stories about having multiple threesomes in the space of a week make him entertaining to watch and listen to, making him somewhat of a celebrity as opposed to a rapper.
all the interviews with Lil Xan, always like they get as much as damn near some of my music videos.
Yeah.
Like, right now, at this moment in my career, I'm more of a celebrity than a rapper. You feel me? Because like I can't leave the crib without 10 kids coming up to me right as I leave the door.
However, by the same token, the amount of stories that he has, which are to some extent based on poor life decisions, openly displays his lifestyle filled with a never-ending cycle of short-term pleasure. And this is the problem with so many of these SoundCloud rappers. The branding by default is the glorification of drugs, bringing hoes over to the crib every night, taking out loans to buy cars, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, expensive jewelry. They become so famous and successful while living this kind of life that they actually think that they're on the right path, when in reality, real long-term sustainable success is, at least in part, determined by your ability to avoid these temptations. The other problem with living this kind of lifestyle,
you gotta sacrifice something for to gain something, right?
it's usually accompanied by a multitude.
This I know. I watched that shoot. Damn. Oh, what was that? I forgot.
Poor financial decisions. In the beginning, Lil Xan seemed convinced that this wasn't who he was.
Cool Kicks, yeah, that's the song.
Do you go crazy hard with expensive clothes and jewelry and ridiculous bullshit, or do you hold on to it?
I used to watch Cool Kicks, not anymore. No, I don't really care much about shoes.
What's going on in your lives
I'm
right
not
now?
into the whole, I'm into grills and like MCM, like I have like a chain, but like it's not like so expensive. And like I'm not into the whole jewelry.
However, only 6 months later, in a video posted to YouTube once again by No Jumper, this seemed to have changed, as Lil Xan's out-of-control spending habits and lack of respect for valuable items was put on full display. He'd start by mentioning that he would take any sponsorships as he was low on cash at the time.
Money bag picture when they sponsor me, do it. We'll take any endorsement. I'm broke.
However, he'd then go on to talk about and reenact himself smashing his TV.
I got so mad. I literally walked up in this the other day. I took this skateboard and I was like, then I'm like, I'm mad.
Laugh about ruining a $1,200 hoodie after leaving it on the floor.
So everything's on the floor. Expensive hoodie, $1,200. Nothing to day.
And then go on to purchase 2 copies of the game Destiny with the goal of showing the store some love.
And honestly, 2 copies of Destiny, like, they're just pushing me up.
Now, you could probably make made the argument that this was just Lil Xan spending big whilst the camera was in his face. However, there was plenty of evidence to suggest that off camera, he was also quite unwise with his money. For example, in another No Jumper podcast, he talked about how he'd take 7 of his friends to Universal Studios and pay for everyone's entry just to buy one drink before leaving.
I'll take all my homies. I'll spend $700 to take 7 of my friends in there. Just see a Butterbeer with it. And I don't film it or nothing.
In addition to this, Lil Xan would take out a loan to purchase a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, the price of which starting at around $130,000 US.
But for your bros, right, man. I respect that.
My favorite car gym.
Gotta take your bros
Now,
with
if we
you.
ignore the fact that Lil Xan would go on to keep his own car whilst angry at a later date,
I just did this to my car.
Man, that's just wrong, man. That's don't waste stuff. I hate people wasting stuff. You should turn your lights off to live in the room if no one's gotta stay in your room. Just turn the lights off. That thing is the difference between educated people and literate people.
the levels of stupidity for this purchase go pretty deep. Taking out a loan to buy a car, moron. Taking out a loan to buy a luxury car just to flex on social media, double moron. Taking out a loan to buy a luxury car just to flex on social media whilst working in a creative profession where you could fall off at any moment, triple moron.
Yo, welcome to Dark Man and this money with. She's like a 9 out of 10, she ain't like a 10. But she's pretty bad. It's my first car.
However, the stupidity of his G-Wagon purchase was compounded even further when he would host a public event that would ultimately result in an extra $100,000 fine. On the 21st of December 2017, just before he'd buy the car, Lil Xan would make a tweet which read as follows: "If you live in the Inland Empire/LA area and want to meet me tonight, pull up to 100 to 110 North 5th Street, Redlands, CA 92373, United States at 7:30. Now, it's hard to call Xan an idiot for this one. It was still early in his career and the tweet was made only 4 hours prior to the meeting time. He probably expected just a couple of people to show up for photos and autographs, considering the location was also on the very outskirts of LA. Well, as you might guess, this isn't what happened. Around 2,000 people showed up, cars and streets were damaged, and ultimately the police would have to send in the helicopter unit before Lil Xan was arrested for his own safety.
I gave like a 4-hour notice. I was heading to my hometown, so I tweeted a location, and then I just expected like 50 people to show up. That's just how I am. I got there, and this video's on YouTube, like 2,000 people.
Wow.
What?
But I got fined. There's a lot of damages to cars and streets.
Really?
Yeah, and the helicopters came out, and it's like 10 grand every helicopter. It was like Project X with
It was a 100K bill.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Another
100K.
Lil Xan would go on to state that the event postponed his purchase of the G-Wagon.
Do you feel like you learned your lesson about that?
My manager said that it postponed my meeting with G-Wagon, so I was a little upset. But
Which could also be interpreted as, over the long run, it was now $100,000 further from owning the car outright.
They sent him a bill for 100 racks. And then I remember having a conversation with him after that. He's like, damn, bro, like, no, it's going to take me so much longer to pay this G-Wagon off.
Another rapper who owned one of these cars was Mac Miller, who happened to be Lil Xan's biggest inspiration in the beginning.
Who's like your biggest inspiration? Rapping.
Mac Miller. Yeah.
Mac Miller. That's sick, right?
yeah, like
Mac
he's
Miller.
like a big inspiration. Like
However, when Mac would unfortunately die only 9 months later, this also seemed to have an effect on Lil Xan's desire to make music.
I'd be like legit crying like in my crib, like this ain't true, bro. Like Mac did not overdose. Mac's still alive. Mac's still here. I just saw Mac 2 weeks ago. When your hero dies, I don't want to make music no more. Like he was like the reason I made music.
In this same interview, Lil Xan would also talk extensively about his desire to quit music and simply become a public figure.
So that's why I'm not doing music. Like after I finished my contract with Columbia, I didn't know what I was signing up for. I'm more of a celebrity than a rapper at this point, so that's why I'm creating rapping.
And at the end of the day, if he's not enjoying music, the tracks that he does put out won't have the required level of effort in order to compete with other artists who are giving it their all. Lil Xan's attempt to leave music and rather become a celebrity/public figure didn't really work either. After an explosive year on Instagram in 2018, his growth would slow dramatically and has been in continual decline for the last 25 months, leading to an Instagram live stream in December 2021, in which Lil Xan would show that all of his poor decisions from the past were clearly coming back to haunt him.
The industry
Man,
just doesn't care.
blaming his manager for supplying him with drugs, man. He probably asked for it, right?
They just went
I don't really get it, man. If you didn't really want to take it, then manager probably wouldn't have supplied it to you. Did they have like
pump out hit records, and when you're useless
pressure
to
you
them,
into taking it?
just leave you in the dirt. You know.
In this video, Lil Xan would blame his sober, business-minded manager Stat Quo for fueling his drug addiction after he'd supplied Lil Xan with drugs while on tour so he could go out and perform.
And my manager
was supplying me with the drugs. He knew all my plugs, so if I couldn't perform because I was withdrawing back then, because yes, I used to be a drug addict, you know, he would call, make calls, send $5,000 out here, $5,000 out here, just to ship the drugs to wherever we're at in the world.
This was just another example of what is a victim complex and lack of personal responsibility.
So what you do, you decide to on my Instagram story, I'm going to blame my drug addiction on stat quo. It's completely disingenuous. He needed to rely on his manager who doesn't even do drugs to get him drugs. Does this make sense to anyone? No. At a certain point, you just have to accept that like your problems are your own, and you can't just run around playing victim.
After many years, Lil Xan was snitching on his manager, despite he being on with drug addiction. Lil Xan would respond by stating you can't snitch if you're not a gang member.
Oh, you're a snitch now, bro. He didn't make you do that, all this stuff. Like, bro, how am I a snitch? Did I go to court and rat on my gang? I don't have a gang. You can't snitch if you're not a gang member, bro.
What the?
Miss me with that. I'm trying to help other artists in particularly my similar situation.
In the Instagram live stream, Lil Xan would also...
He shouldn't really be blaming his manager, man. That is kind of wrong, man. And then you can snitch if you can, I mean, not can't, I mean, can snitch even if you ain't from a gang member. Just saying, you know, snitch out for gang members only. Ain't that right? Man, my first language ain't even English, and I know better English than you, man. I thought rappers would be, better with words, cause they have to write lyrics. J. Cole, think about him. He's got a freaking big ass book right there. Eminem has got a whole freaking dictionary, maybe 2, 3.
Also, he took my car away too. That I paid the majority of the money, and now he wants $30,000 of the remaining money to pay it off, which I paid literally. It's all my money in the car, and he won't give it to me.
Without $30,000 to take full ownership of his G-Wagon, a declining follower count across each of his social media platforms, and no new music in over 7 months, it seems like this could possibly be the end for Lil Xan's career.
I'm a Nightland boy. It's 3.